Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our second segment of the night, talking about the St. Louis Blues and their defenseman that they acquired a couple years ago in a trade with the Boston Bruins is out for this season. He is I'll just read the press release that the St. Louis Blues president of hockey operations and general manager Doug Armstrong put out today for Torey Krug has been diagnosed with pre-arthritic changes in his left ankle. The injury is a cumulative result of a bone fracture suffered earlier in his playing career. Krug will work to rehabilitate the injury through non-surgical interventions over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks. After the time, he will be reevaluated to determine whether surgery will be necessary. Krug is officially considered to be out indefinitely, and if surgery is required, he will be unavailable for the entirety of the 2024-25 season. Torey Krug, who was 33 years old, was originally signed by the Blues as a free agent on October 9th, 2020. Last season, the Michigan native dressed in 77 regular season games, posting 39 points, which included 35 assists and 32 penalty minutes across 4 seasons. With the Blues, Krug has recorded 146 points, which includes 124 assists and 154 penalty minutes in 255 regular season games. Overall, he has appeared in 778 career regular season games, including stints with Boston and St. Louis, totaling 483 points and 374 penalty minutes. Torey Krug is a huge loss to the St. Louis Blues defense. If he does need surgery for this, which I would be shocked if he doesn't, this is a huge blow. And this is a 33-year-old defenseman, so if he needs surgery for this, he may never play another game in the NHL. And that's really sad, because, I mean, he's like lightning in a bottle when he's on. He's such a fantastic and such a fun player to watch. And it just leaves such a hole for the St. Louis Blues D. This defense is old. This defense is injury-riddled. This defense does not look good. When I was giving my season preview for the Colorado Avalanche, I think on Monday, I talked about the St. Louis Blues a little bit in there and how, well, when you look at the Central is really good. And then you look at the St. Louis Blues, and they got considerably worse this offseason. So where does that put them with a team that already didn't make the playoffs last season? There's nobody that's going to be able to replace Torey Krug and his production and what he does for defense on this team right now. They have a bunch of old defensemen. They have Nick Leddy, 33 years old, making $4 million for the next 2 years. Colin Parayko, 31 years old, making $6.5 million for the next 6 years. He signed that contract so long ago and has regressed ever since. Torey Krug, who is now going to probably be out for the season, and Justin Falk, who is $6.5 million but 32 years old. The rest of their defense has Scott Peronovich and Pierre-Olivier Joseph, Tyler Tucker, Corey Schwinneman, and Ryan Sutter is what their defense is. Just 4 guys that don't move the needle, or 5 guys that just don't move the needle in a direction that you want it to be moved into. All of these guys just don't help out with the team that's, the already lackluster defensive core. It's just they have, what is that, 9? They have 9 defensemen that are making some big money on their roster right now, and none of them are particularly good. That's a problem. And then when you look in their in their prospect pool, they just drafted Adam Jiricek, who it is no secret how low I am on Adam Jiricek as a prospect. He had 1 point coming off of a major injury, and we drafted him in the first round. Why? And we, of course, I mean the St. Louis Blues. I have no ties with that team, but they also have Theo Lindstein, who they drafted last year. They just signed him to an entry-level deal. Other guys that they have, like Lucas Fisher, who doesn't really move the needle too much. They're lackluster at best on defense when you look at it. Colin Ralph, who they just got in the second round, is pretty solid. Yeah, it's just not that great. Their defense is scary. And then when you look at their offense, guys like Jordan Kyrou, who has shown signs of regressing, Thomas Robert, Braden Shent, who is 32 years old now, Pavel Buchnevich, who they just signed to a major extension at 29 years old, Brandon Saad, who's 31, showed signs of major regression. Radek Fasa, who is 30, showed signs of major regression. And then, they have other guys like Kasperi Kapanen and Alexander Texier and Matthew Joseph, who just are bottom six guys. This team's offseason was a worst case scenario, I might say. St. Louis is not going to be happy with this product. If you know anything about St. Louis sports, is they hate when they aren't winning. Me being a Cardinals fan, I completely understand that. The city hates when St. Louis is bad. I have some bad news for that city. They're not going to be great. You're looking at the Central Division, and you have the Avalanche, who are going to be really good next season. The Dallas Stars, who we just got done talking about for a season preview, are going to be fantastic. You have the Nashville Predators, who probably won this offseason with the three-headed monster that they got in free agency: Brady Shea, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault. Minnesota Wild, who have Kirill Kaprizov, one of the best forwards in all of the NHL, and look to have gone better this offseason. You have the Blackhawks, who have Connor Bedard and can always be really good because they have Connor Bedard. The Utah Hockey Club, who got Mikhail Sergachev and got John Marino and got other pieces that help that look like it's going to help this team win now. And then you have the St. Louis Blues, who, I mean, you look at this team. And I forgot the Winnipeg Jets, who also, they took hits this offseason, but not enough to completely fall from grace. They still have a Vezina, the previous year's Vezina winning goaltender and a fantastic defense behind him. And then you look at the St. Louis Blues, who is the 8th team in this Central Division, and you now lose Torey Krug. You haven't lost huge pieces, but all of your pieces are just getting older. And your defense does not look good. And you're still relying on a 31-year-old Jordan Binnington, who hasn't reclaimed that success from the 2019 season when he completely came out of nowhere and became one of the best goaltenders overnight, seemingly. They have good prospects like Dalibor Dvorsky. I really like. That might be it. Dalibor Dvorsky, Otto Stenberg are both pretty good prospects. But other than that, yeah, I talked about it. In the system, they don't have many defensive prospects. This team, it might be scary hour. Like, it honestly might, not time to hit the big red button, sound the alarm bells, everything's going off, everything's going wrong in St. Louis. But when is? Is it just full rebuild mode in St. Louis? Is it time to just kind of cut ties with guys like Jordan Kyrou, kind of look to sell at the deadline? Jordan Kyrou is making a lot of money, so I don't know if he's really the biggest candidate, but Brandon Saad, 31 years old, 4.5 for the next 2 years, can definitely be a deadline sell. Radek Fasa, Nick Leddy could be a deadline sell move. The other problem with the St. Louis Blues is, who are you building around now for the future? Because I think that this team is not competitive enough to make a postseason. So who's that guy? When you started in 2019, the guy was kind of like Colin Parayko and Vladimir Tarasenko. And now Vladimir Tarasenko is on his 5th team since he's left St. Louis. And Colin Parayko is still on the team, but doesn't have anybody around him in the defensive core and kind of has fallen off a good bit since that season. Jordan Binnington, it looks like a shell of his former self every time he steps on the ice. This team would worry me if I was a Blues fan. I think you got to just kind of buckle up for a while of mediocrity because you're not building around anybody. You don't have, it's just not that impressive. And last season they were stuck in purgatory, right? They were the first team out of the playoffs last season. it's going to be difficult for the St. Louis. It really is. So we'll see what that looks like in the future. But that'll wrap it up for talking about Torey Krug being out for the season. When I come back for my third segment of the night, we'll be talking about Gavin McKenna and him playing in a U18 tournament and him not being at the summer showcase for the World Junior Classic.
Looking for your daily fix of